and welcome to another session of Groundbreakers Live. I'm your host, Javed Mohammed, and I'm very honored to have with us Jackie Mcilroy. Jackie is an Oracle ace as well as an Apex developer. Jackie, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to finally meet you.
Likewise, and we were talking off camera, and we'll get back to some of the non-Apex stuff a little bit after. But I just want to kind of get from just starting to find out, how did you become involved with Apex?
Accidentally. I started out my career, I graduated with a degree in computer science from Texas Tech University, and I got a job with Raytheon, which is a government defense company. And so I never had anything to do with databases, user interfaces. I was just a programmer. I did business logic, like logic was my thing. And I did it well. So I worked for government defense. And one day we had a new requirement that said, hey, we need a user interface. And we heard of this really cool tool since we have an Oracle database. It's called Apex. Has anyone used it? And nobody raised their hand. So they said, Jackie, here you go. Go learn this tool and see what you can do to get us a prototype of our user interface really quickly. And it lived up to the hype. I think that was Apex version like 3.2 or something like that. It was a long time ago. It wasn't HTTP, but it was Apex. And in less than a quarter of the time when it would taken us to do like a Java applet type display, we came up with an Apex application that was basically a cockpit view into our system, and it had like a lot of really cool real-time statistics, dashboards, and then anything that a user needed to do inside of it to like interact. It just wasn't something to look at. You could interact with it, change the data, and it was amazing. Ever since then, like I've pretty much switched to doing database development and Apex development. I had a really cool DBA that basically sat down with me since I didn't know anything about databases besides the fact that we had one. And he taught me how to data model and how to, from that data model, I could take what he told me and make things that I needed to make for my Apex applications. So it was really cool.
So you probably developed many applications, and I'm just kind of curious, and I know it's probably very hard to pick one, but I'm going to ask you to pick one. Something that you're either you're very proud of or you're passionate about.
So it's hard to, like you said, it's hard to pick one. So the first one that I built that I just described is probably my favorite because it's the one that I learned the most, and it made me an Apex developer. Like, you're never going to learn more or get more from something than when you do it for the first time. So I really enjoyed that one. But as a consultant, I switched shortly after I built that application to being an Apex consultant. And for a lot of projects, I never built an application myself. I came in and helped people develop their applications to their business needs, and was able to, where they were having problems, assist them. And so although those may not be my favorite applications, I always enjoy seeing what people come up with and being able to help them make their ideas come to life easier when using Apex.
So it sounds like definitely it was first love with Apex.
Of course, yes. Like, I mean, it's a little bit hard in the beginning when you're, for someone like me who's never done web development of any kind or database development, but it opened up a whole new world for me. And I mean, it completely changed the course of where I was going in my career. I would have still been doing C++ Java coding if I had never tried Apex.
Great. So, you know, I'm sure you've acquired a lot of wisdom along the way. I know we're talking a little bit off camera about if there's any best practices, but how about just like, are there any someone who's just not so familiar with Apex, if they just kind of getting into it, any words of wisdom you want to share about what to do?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, the best thing that I ever did was to engage with the Apex community. So even when I was building my first application way back in the day, I reached out to people on their blogs and asked questions like, I saw you did this. Can you help me take it this one step further? Or how would you do this? Or everyone that I've ever met in the Apex community has been really open and really kind and wants to help people get started. There's a lot of resources for people that are just starting out. Apex.world is a great one. You can go on there. You can see Twitter feeds of Apex. You can see all the blog posts, get any news, like new releases, trainings. You can see anything there. You can also kind of get acquainted with the community from joining that site. And then you also should try to go to a local meetup. There are tons of Apex meetup groups. You can get involved with people that are local to you. I'm sure now some of the meetups are probably happening online, so it's even easier to attend one of those events. There's online conferences, and there's actual user groups like ODTUG, there's the Kscope conference. All of those places are great places to meet like-minded people and kind of get to know the community. Absolutely everyone I've met has been willing to help or been kind and answered questions. And once you build up a network of people, if you have trouble doing something, you know who to ask or where to get information. It's really helpful.
Okay. So just as there are things to do, there are probably things to avoid. And I'm just kind of curious, is there anything you would advise not doing?
Not doing. I would say just don't be afraid to try. Get your hands dirty. And that's not really something you shouldn't do, but a lot of people maybe just read blogs or watch videos and they don't really ever try it to see what it can accomplish. So I would say avoid just watching, actually get in there and do it and be a part of it and become part of the community.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you for sharing. I want to go a little off topic away from Apex, but before I do that, I was just looking at your background, and although this is our first kind of meeting, a virtual meeting, I was just wondering, how did you plan this? Because you have my initials in your background. You got JM.
They're my initials too. We're just awesome.
Oh, okay. I'm so selfish. I was just thinking about myself.
I did it for you, and I completely planned it. It was just for you.
Thank you, Jackie. That's very thoughtful.
You're welcome.
So if I understand you're from the Dallas area. I know it's one of the hot spots in the country, but if someone was visiting Dallas, is there like one thing? I'm sure there's many things to do, many foods to try, but if there's like one recommendation you have, what would it be?
I would say, there's so many.
Yeah,
You want to try good Texas food, so barbecue, Tex-Mex food. We have great restaurants for that. You can contact me if you want information. And then otherwise, if you want touristy stuff, you should come during the state fair if we're ever allowed to have that again. And try all of the really bad for you, probably weird foods that they create there. And just the experience. And then there's Fort Worth, which is I'm more on the Dallas side, but Fort Worth is really great culturally. There's a lot of art, and there's Fort Worth stockyards where all the rodeos and cowboy stuff happens. So that's always interesting. Okay, well, and then if you're a sports fan, of course, there's everything.
Okay, I've always seen the word together, Dallas, Fort Worth, but so thank you for clarifying a little bit of the difference between the two.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Jackie, it's been a real pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for sharing.
You too. Thank you so much for having me.